In this video, I turn 6 basic lunch bags and turn them into an ephemera storage, tag storage, whatever it is you'd like to use it for. So it's an easel, it's storage, and it's fun, and it can hold extra things. So let's get started. So this is what I used, which are just common paper lunch bags. And the size of these says 5.12 inches by 3.12 by 10.62 inches. There's your centimeters, 13 by 7.9 by 26.9. So it just depends what size bags you have. These have a gusset. They definitely have a gusset. So they do expand out the top. I am not going to be using this flap for this project. They're all just going to get staggered. So we'll do that in a minute. So there's 6 bags here, and that's what I used in the prototype. Now I made improvements to the prototype because that one, it isn't quite sturdy enough and the Velcro dots didn't quite work. So I'm changing it up for this one. So let's see how it goes because I haven't made another one yet. We're going to make one right now on camera. And so what I've done is this is what's going to be the easel part of the whole thing. So I've drawn a little diagram for you. And I hope you can read everything okay. So the first thing that I did with this is corrugated. And if you have chipboard, that's probably better. I didn't use chipboard in the first one. I had this piece of corrugated 12 by 12. So it's 12 by 12. And what I have done is I've marked out all of my folds, and these are my cut lines, these two here in the middle. So the first thing I did was I felt like because it's corrugated, well, let's back up a little bit. It's corrugated this way, which means that when I fold it, um, it's going to be a little resistant, and that's because the corrugations go this way. But if I had it turned this way and I was folding it with the corrugations, and see if this makes sense, it could be very bendy in all these other areas. And I want that linear strength for the easel. So I want that linear strength going across those areas. And I want to have a very definite choice in where I put those folds and not have it accidentally go in with the corrugation. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so because this is corrugated and it's a little thinner, I decided I wanted to reinforce it. So I have glued on a piece of single-sided scrapbook paper. And when I'm all done cutting it out and everything, I'm going to glue another piece, and that's going to make it decorative. So that'll just add a little layer of fun that I didn't do on the first one. And what I glued it on with was a combination of the Yes paste, and around the edges I did the craft glue just to give it a little extra strength around the edges. And I did it in sections, and I'll demonstrate that when I do this other side. So I did it a little bit at a time and then gradually worked the paper over. So let's see. The first thing I want to do is I want to cut and fold this and finish the glue up, and then we'll move on to the bags. Okay, so I'm going to use a razor blade knife and the metal ruler. Now, if you have a scoring board, that would be a really good thing to use at this point. If you don't have a scoring board, one of the things you can do, and we'll go ahead and I'll do one this way, but the scoring board is going to give you some accuracy that's important. But if I use this, it's a thin metal ruler. So if I use that, I can kind of get underneath it and fold it up that way. So you want to use something very stiff that's going to resist as you fold it up. So that created a perfectly nice fold. And this particular fold is this little hook at the top. So it's actually going to go all the way over. So it's kind of good having this one, because that's going to wrap around. You can start to see how it's going to go. That's going to wrap around the back. I mean, it could go on the, oh yeah, we're going to be doing two different things here. So let me not get ahead of myself. Okay, so let us go ahead and do all these folds. I'm going to switch over. The cardboard's really, really thick, and it's not working that well with the scoring board. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the ruler for these folds. And they don't have to be absolutely perfect on the line. This is a very kind of a loose design. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think this with corrugated cardboard, maybe with chipboard, I don't know. It's pretty stiff. Okay, so this is this part. So let's go ahead and get this one done. Okay, got the folds started. Now, as I said before, I just sort of made this thing up. I thought, well, this would be kind of neat. I was just playing around with paper bags and I came up with this idea. So in the diagram, I'm showing this little flap. That's the bottom. That is going to go, yeah. Oh, right, I have to do it the other direction. That's okay. We can reverse this. I think I've got that right. Let me see. I want this, and that's the base. That's the slant. Okay. I'm winging it here, folks. Okay, so what we need here is this one is going like this. This one needs to go the other direction. Okay. And maybe I want to cut that off. As I said, I'm just winging it here. Okay, so that's the front. That goes inside there. And yeah, I think what I want to do, ooh, I could do it that way. There we go. So can you kind of see how we're going there? You are witnessing an experiment that's happening. Okay, so everything, this is the only one that bends back on itself. Everything else goes in place. Now, before we glue this together, I want to put the decorative paper in here, right? So that I want to do that a little bit at a time so that I can get those inside folds going in the right direction. So we need to cut this at 5.5. Now the slanted part, this is going to get covered up with the bags, but this will still be seen. So we really do want two pieces that are 5.5. We do not need any paper here. Now I could cut this out in sections, just to match each section. That would work. But I'm going to kind of sneak in here and fold it. You could use a bone folder for this. Kind of be gentle with it though. And then I'm going to kind of hold it down and fold it the rest of the way. And make sure there we go. All right. So that one needs to be glued. And on this one, this is the bottom section. Once I've hidden all of my diagrams, I'm not going to see them anymore. So let's see. This will help. This is a paper on the inside like this will help strengthen the whole thing as well. That'll be good. Okay. And actually, I want to cut this section off. Okay, so let's cut it right there. And yeah, because we don't need it on these glue flaps. We don't need any paper there. We'll just have the cardboard. All right, so now we have this section and we have this section. I'm going to go ahead and glue this up. Let me get some protective paper here. Good use of old catalogs. Okay, so I'm going to use the Yes glue and the craft glue together. And I have some water here. And you may have noticed before, I'm using quite a funky old brush. This one I've used was just a very inexpensive brush from one of the big box places. And I just use it as a glue brush and kind of just for scrubbing, you know, because I can be really rough with it. So you want to have kind of a brush you don't care about. So it's always good to have those around. All right. Now again, because this is on cardboard, cardboard's very absorbent. So you want to put a lot of paste, whatever your preferred paste is. If you've got a nice juicy glue stick, that probably would be just fine. You just want to make sure those edges are well anchored down with a stronger glue. I'm going all the way out to the edges and then using, make sure it all is stuck down well. It's very important to do it one step at a one section at a time. And this is how I did the other side, was I just do one section at a time. Okay. This tub of glue is kind of drying up, so I add just a little bit of water. Okay, you can see this starting to shape up. Now I'll do this side. I'm going to start this glue up down here at the base. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, this is the last panel to get glued up. And you can kind of see how this whole thing is starting to come together. Starting to come together. Okay, so I have some excess here to cut off. And then we will finish the glue up. I'm going to use scissors. Okay. I guess I could have folded it over. That might have been kind of cute too. Keep that in mind. You could have taken this edge and folded it over. I was not thinking of that. Okay. So the next decision is, do we want to leave this on? So there's the bottom. So we know we're going to be putting that there. Ah, that's one place where I could have folded it up. That's all right. We can add to it. All right. So I want to do that. And I want to do that. I think I don't need this. I think that just adds unnecessary bulk. So I'm going to take this flap off. And I hope I'm making the right decision. We'll just see what happens. It's just paper, right? Okay, so now that we have that, and now that I realize I left that exposed, I'm going to go ahead and add a little strip to that. Right? There we go. It's not really going to be seen, but I mean, we might as well. Might as well get something pretty on there. All right, one more little thing to glue. And that's not going to have any stress on it, so I'm not going to worry about that. There we go. I just want to make sure it's nicely creased. Okay, that's the bottom. That's the front. All right, so what I do want to have, we want to have a few clips. We want to make sure these joins stay put. I guess I could use some double-sided tape. I'm sure there's some of you out there going like, oh yeah, use that, use that. If I use double-sided tape, I don't know, this glue is really strong. If I use both. Thinking it through, thinking it through. What do I want to use here? Double-sided tape or... Well, I think a little bit of both. I mean, we do need it to be extra secure. That's how it is with experiments, huh? You just have to keep trying things. I am going to add some glue. I'm adding this right on top of the tape down at the bottom. Okay, here goes. This is kind of the most critical part. One thing about the tape is it's already there. Okay. Okay. I just want to crimp that over. Well, looks like we've got that going. All right, let me clear this away and we'll do the bags. Let that dry a bit. Okay, we're ready to prepare the paper bags. And what I did was, because these are being folded up, we're not using this flap section. But since they're graduated, I wanted to make sure it was just going to stay closed. So the first thing I did was just close up all of these bags. Just, they're just not going to get in the way. But I don't want anything to kind of get hidden inside the flap. Just needs a little bit. Again, I have 6 bags. You could use 5, you could use 4. When I was experimenting, it seemed that 6 bags would work pretty well. Okay. So now what we want to do, this is, here's the prototype. What we want to do is this first bag is just like that. Just the whole flap itself. is folded over. Okay? The next bag, what we want is a little exposure. Can you see that? We want to have them, they're all about a half an inch apart or thereabouts. So I want to line them up and hold it down really well and fold it over so that that second bag is folded a little bit further away. And the same thing with this one. We start by lining it up and we see what exposure there is. There are our bags. So let's see here. So what I want is for these bags to open that way. So I want to glue them together, but I want them to still have expansion room. So all I did was create like a little rectangular, and you could use double-sided tape for this. I don't recommend the glue stick because it's just not going to be strong enough. So I just did this one at a time. And that way, when you open that, you can see that's going to open and it's going to give you some room to move, room for things to go in. So I'm just going to do this with all of these. Create like a little rectangular glue space. And I just keep making sure everything stays aligned, right? Okay. All right, that's all we're going to do for the second. All right, so what we need now, here's the prototype again. What we need now are gussets. So the big part of the bag has gussets. So what we want is little gussets for the front flaps. So a couple of ways of doing it. I had some craft paper that I did those from, but you could cannibalize one of the bags and just take it apart, right? So we're going to do that with this one. And what we need going to be different sizes. So we're going to have different sizes depending on how high the connection is. And all of this is going to come together really well once it's in the easel, right? Okay. So this is actually a pretty good dimension to start with. And what we want are 2-inch sections that we're going to fold. So let's make a bunch of strips that are 2 inches. Okay, so what we're looking at here is what we want is 2 strips this size, and we can mark that with a pen. So we need 2 of those. Okay, this is where a scoreboard comes in handy, because we're gonna score these at 1/2-inch increments. So all of them need to be scored at 1/2-inch increments. So I'll do that, and what we're going to do with those is we want to fold them over into the middle, and then we want to fold it in half. And these are going to get, let me get it right here. These are going to get glued in place inside each of these. So we'll get to that. So let me go ahead and fold all these, and I'll be right back. And you can fold 2 at a time, certainly. It's pretty thin paper. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, here's my last folding. So each edge into the middle, and then turn it over and fold it in half that last way. All right, so we are ready to glue in gussets. Okay. So I think the first time I did it, I started front to back. This time I'm going to go to this one. So you can see how all these are working, which is nice. So I want my longest ones. Okay. So here's the key, the strategy. Keep a grip on it. That's the first strategy, right? All right. So put the folded edge to the outside. Kind of get it right near the edge. And do both sides. Go. Now we have to do this very carefully. Okay. Okay. So there you see how that's working. Okay. So now I'm going to do the rest of them, and I'll be right back. All right, here's our last one. Hey, there are our pockets. Lots of them. So if you didn't want to have an easel and you just wanted to use paper bags this way, I mean, just tie a ribbon around it, a piece of yarn or something like that, and it's like its own pouch. You could make a little folder for it instead. So that would be another idea, is to just create some kind of an enclosure for it, and then when you want to get stuff out, there it is. So that's the main thing, and this is exactly the same as I did the prototype. So, okay. So now it's going to go in here, and we can take off the clips. And I haven't done any gluing or anything like that, and there it is. You can see how that goes. Looks like we've got a good join on the front and on the top and bottom. So I think the double-sided tape worked really well, and it's kind of pretty on the inside. And this is much sturdier than the prototype was. I definitely feel that the cardboard with some extra scrapbook paper glued on, this feels really good, feels really strong. And it it opens up, you know, on its own. So now we have a choice. This is, again, another choice point. We can glue these bags into the easel, or we could leave them loose and just have something that ties it on. So I think for this particular one, I'm going to just go get something to tie, and I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm not going to glue them in just yet. Now on the prototype, just so that you know, I used some Velcro dots, and I was thinking, oh, the Velcro dots. So I just put that there. And on the other side of the ribbon, I had put a Velcro dot on the ribbon, but this particular ribbon is slick, so it just popped off. It doesn't stick well at all. And so I put it on there. Now, you know, it's okay, but that's not ideal. As I said, it's a prototype. So we're learning, right? So the one other thing I did on this prototype is I created a fold in the middle of the bottom so that if you wanted to fold it up, but it didn't quite work because I didn't get things lined up. So that's the idea of a prototype, is that I should have had it folding in half of this bottom section. So instead, I cut a piece of cardboard and reinforced it so it would just stay open and it wouldn't buckle. So that's the prototype, what I did with that. This is so sturdy that you don't need any reinforcement down here. And like I said in the teaser video, was I always have a sketchbook handy because I like to draw little ideas. And this sketchbook, it's a standard Strathmore size of 3.5 by 5. So that's really a nice little practice sketchbook. It fits beautifully in that spot. So that's kind of a fun thing. I could always add a little pen holder on the side even. So this is what I have right now. So let me go get a ribbon and we'll finish this off. So here's what I did to create a closure. I used some really thin double-sided tape and I put it on the inside so that and then put the yarn on that so that that will hold it closed. And the beauty of the piece of yarn, which is, or the ribbon or whatever you decide to use versus this trying to use this with the Velcro, is that you can adjust how open it is, right? So I could leave it a little bit more open. And you might have some kind of a clasp or something else that you would like to use, but I can leave it a little bit open. I can close it all the way. It all depends on what you're doing with it. So let's see. I think we have a done easel here. So it's kind of a fiddly project, but look what we have, all these gussets. The bags open nicely. And let's take some of those things we did in the last video. I put a bit of yarn on the top of this one that was made last time in the calendar pages. I'll link that down below. And here's the unfinished writing board. Now I know it fits. The other thing that you might want to do, well, that might be another reason to leave that open. Could just leave it back there. Another thing you might want to do is put washi tape over the edges of these flimsy edges, and I might be doing just that to give them a little bit of strength as you're putting things in and out. I can see where we could have a little tear out happen. So I'll put a little washi tape on those edges and strengthen them. So we've got some little things that we can tuck into places. So I hope that this was was kind of a fun, different sort of thing. I was just experimenting with the paper bags, and it was just one of those things to experiment with, and I came up with this idea. So the other thing you could do is add a little gusset here and glue the bag in. So I could add a gusset here, and I'd have yet another little pocket. So I could do that. So I'm just going to kind of live with this right the way it is right now and play with it. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. I think I need to make a new easel, and this whole assembly could go on a better easel, or I will do what I was suggesting, which is take just take this whole thing apart a little bit and just make it an enclosed piece. So I have a couple of different options. This one is going to stay open and I can put stuff in it for, especially like when I'm working on a project. I wind up with a lot of bits and pieces. It's kind of nice to have a place to put them. So I hope that this inspired you and that you found this fun. Um, Please, let me know in the comments if you're going to make one and what you think of this. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.